Hey there YouTube, today I'm going to teach you how to play the classic tile laying board game, Carcassonne. Here are all of the components that should be in your Carcassonne game. There should be a scoreboard, the rulebook and player aid, 72 cardboard tiles, the start tile, which you'll notice has a different back than the regular tiles, and finally 40 meeples, also called followers, in red, yellow, green, blue, and black. Also, important thing to note, some versions of the game come with the river expansion. The river tiles, basically, they look like the start tiles with a black background and a white sea, but they shouldn't be confused with it. Before you start playing, you're going to want to get all of the land tiles and basically shuffle them up and then gather them into stacks. Alternatively, you can just put all of the tiles in the top of the box or in a huge bag. Just make sure they're all mixed up. After you have the tiles mixed up, give each player the 8 meeples of his color and then have them put 1 meeple on the scoreboard where the 0 is. This meeple is not used during the game and is simply used to keep score. After that, you're going to want to put the start tile, or if you're using the river expansion, the riverbed tile in the center of the table. After that, you're ready to play Carcassonne. Now please note, for this tutorial I'm going to be using 2 people, and I'm also going to be using the normal method of playing. So let's get started. Now, how do you actually win a game of Carcassonne? Well, you win the game by having more points than any other player. And you do this by placing your followers on features such as roads, monasteries, and cities. So how do you actually do this? Well, every turn you're going to reach into wherever you have the tiles and draw one at random. Then you're going to have to place it adjacent to another tile, like so. Roads connect to roads, cities connect to cities, and farms connect to farms. Farms are the green part. After you place your tile, you have the option of putting one of your meeples on a feature on that tile, as long as that feature has not already been claimed by somebody else. After a feature has been completed, you take your meeple off and you score points for it. Roads are complete when they have 2 endpoints on them. For example, this road ends at this little patch of houses there, and that little patch of houses there. So this road would be complete, and you get to take your meeple off and score it. When you score a road, you earn 1 point for every tile that that road takes up. So in this example, red would get 4 points for that specific road. Cities are completed whenever the city wall goes in a complete circle, leaving no gaps behind. For every tile that is in a completed city, you get 2 points. But if a completed city has a pennant in it, or a shield, that city scores an extra 2 points. And monasteries are scored whenever they are completely enclosed by 8 other tiles. Whenever a monastery is scored, you get 1 point for every tile surrounding it and the monastery tile itself, for a total of 9 points. The last way that you can get points in a game of Carcassonne is by something called a farmer. Farmers are different than anything else because you lay them down on your side in a patch of green on a tile. Now, important thing to note here is that farmers, once they're placed, they don't come back to your stash of meeples for the rest of the game. But at the end of the game, when you're doing final scoring, for every completed city that your farm touches, you will get 3 points. So farmers can be very valuable, and they can pretty much decide who wins the game and who doesn't if they are used wisely. So you might be thinking that, well, if Carcassonne is just a game about pulling out tiles at random and placing them somewhere, isn't it just completely luck-based? No, it's not completely luck-based, because there are certain strategies that you can use to screw over your opponents. For example, Let's say that red has claimed this city, and it's blue's turn. He draws this tile. Now, he couldn't put it there. He could put it there, effectively completing red city, but that would be bad for him. What he's going to do, he's going to connect this tile like that. Now, important to note, this little strip of city is not connected to red's big city. So, blue is allowed to claim that as his own. And later, if red or somebody else completes the city, they both will get the same amount of points for it. But if, for example, blue, as before, places a follower like that on a city, and then that city gets connected together and completed, blue, because he has 2 followers in this city now, and red has only 1, blue would get all of the points for the city, and red would get nothing. And this rule about sharing things doesn't necessarily apply to cities. For example, if this happened and this road was connected and then completed, then as before, both players would get the same amount of points. Or if one person had more meeples on a feature than another, then that person would get all the points and the other person would get 0. And like before, if 2 farms somehow become connected, then at the end of the game, whoever's meeples are in the farm would get the same number of points for it at the end of the game unless they are outnumbered. Now, trying to claim your opponent's features is a really good way to get points or potentially screw them out of points, but another pretty good strategy in Carcassonne is to immediately finish something, place a follower on it, and then you immediately score it and get it back, earning yourself a few points in the process. A game of Carcassonne ends whenever there are no more tiles to be drawn. At that time, if there are any incomplete features on the board, then they will be scored as well. Now, here's how the incomplete features work. You get 1 point for every tile on an incomplete road, so in this case, blue would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for their incomplete road. And they would also get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points for their incomplete monastery because there are 7 tiles in that monastery. Incomplete cities also score 1 point per tile, but it's important to note that the pennant only scores 1 point now as well. After scoring your incomplete features, you would score farms, and then whoever has the most points wins the game. And that's how you play Carcassonne. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, don't stress about running out of tiles, and I don't know what the hell I'm saying anymore, but I really don't care. The last way that you can get points in Carcassonne is by something called a farmer. Farmers are different because you lay them down on their side to denote that they are farmers. You put them in a patch of green on the tile. Now, what's important to note is that once you place a farmer, it's stuck there for the rest of the game. But at the rest,